In today's Design to Move, we're going to address the hips and lower back. One of the major muscle imbalances that affect a broad portion of the population is called lower cross syndrome. This basically means that the front of your pelvis tilts lower than it should in relationship to the back of your hips. This is due in part to tightened psoas major muscles or hip flexors, which pull the front of the hips forward and tighten the back erector muscles. This puts a tremendous amount of strain on your mid to lower back. Today we'll show you how to release your QLs or erectors and engage the body's pelvic girdle, the transverse abdominis. Enjoy. Lie on your back and place a foam roller or lacrosse ball under your erectors or QL muscle. You're going to find this between the top of your pelvis and the bottom of your rib off to the side of your spine. Start closest to the pelvis and start working your way up towards the ribs. Bring the knee on the same side of the roller up towards your chest. This should put pressure into the roller. Once you feel like you found a tight spot, and you'll feel it, hold on to your knee and pull it up into your chest, slowly kneading the tension spot or trigger point until you feel a subtle release. Sit on a firm surface with your legs in a figure 4 position. Sit up as straight as possible. Stretch your quadratus lumborum by lifting your arm out to the side, up and over your head, reaching to the opposite side. Reach your hand across the body to the outside of your thigh. Slowly lean your upper body until you feel a stretch in your lower back. Hold this position for 6 to 8 seconds, breathing out deeply. Release the tension, come back up to an upright spine, and then repeat. This exercise will help you to recognize what it feels like to contract your abdominal muscles and isolate them. Sit up tall on the ground with your knees bent and your arms up behind you with your fingertips bracing your head. You shouldn't be able to see your elbows out of your peripheral sight. Start to scoop through your belly, arching backward, drawing your stomach up near your spine. Breathe in for 2 seconds through the nose, inflating through the ribcage horizontally, and then out through the mouth for 4 seconds while maintaining a fixed contraction in the abdominal muscles. Start on your hands and knees with your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Keeping your arms straight with soft elbows and your core engaged, drive your foot up and back toward the ceiling, keeping your knee bent to 90 degrees and your foot flexed. Keep your core braced and squeeze your glutes as you kick your heel up and back. Do not let your knee flare out as you lift or your lower back arch. Try to get your quad to about parallel to the ground. Only kick up higher if you're extending from the hip. You do not want to hyperextend your lower back just to get up higher. Otherwise, you'll start using your lower back instead of your glutes. While doing this, bring the opposite arm up without shrugging or packing the shoulder, and then return back to your beginning position.
Myself yourself upon that list. She said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like.
While this is very similar to your run-of-the-mill bridge, it is slightly different in that we engage your transverse abdominis instead of using your hamstrings and glutes. This is a strengthening and stretching movement. While laying on your back with your knees bent, feet shoulder width apart and flat on the ground, contract your abdominals and use them to lift your hips several inches off the ground. The contraction will pull your hips up and toward your rib cage. Controlling the movement with your core, release and slowly lift your hips down to the floor and repeat.
I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, the testaments they told, the moon and its eclipse, the Superman unrolls, the suit before he lives. But I'm not that kind of person that it fits. She said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss.
Your QL muscle or quadratus lumborum is a very common cause of lower back pain. In addition to helping you with lateral bending of your spine and the stabilization of the rib cage, one of the muscle's functions is to stabilize the pelvis when the opposite side of the hip is flexed, like during walking or jogging. Due to the overuse of this muscle, it can spasm and develop adhesions or knots. This can create pain that refers into the outer hip and into the glutes.
Oh, I want something just like this. Where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this.
Your QL runs down either side of your lower back and attaches to the same vertebrae as your hip flexors, the psoas. It attaches from the bottom of the pelvis up to the 12th rib. Because of its attachment to the ribs, it can impact breathing and also the alignment of the shoulder through its opposition to the pec minor.
My limo got slapped, girls in the back. Judas got booty, so my homies on smack. My booze all that, double D's in the back. Back so fat, every smack clap back. Now I'm back on track. Alpine turned up on blast. More bounce, bubble head on the dash. Bubble, bubble, get gas. I see the way that you're looking at me. But for real, look at me. Big girls on deck that'll cook for me. Holla back, dirty bass gon' shake the rock. I know hand when I bust the move. Spoon buddy boo, got nothing to lose. Girls go wild when they feel the boom. Holla back, dirty bass gon' shake the rock.
Shake your rum, shake your rum. Dirty bass gon' shake your rum. Shake your rum, shake your rum. Dirty bass gon' shake your rum. Shake your rum, shake your rum.
It's very important that you learn how to engage the transverse abdominis. You recruit this muscle during the majority of exercises to stabilize the hips and spine. It's much like a girdle. Without the proper engagement of this girdle muscle, your body will have a hard time absorbing ground reaction forces through the hips without having it impact the spine and your shoulder.
Shake it. Shake it. I be on it, chickies want it. Cadillac pimpin' through the strip with a bunny. Dirty bass girls dropping. Dirty bass girls dropping. I be on it, chickies want it. Cadillac pimpin' through the strip with a bunny. Dirty bass girls dropping. Dirty bass girls dropping. See, I've been pimpin' since pimpin' was pimpin'. Back in the days of old Lola Mike the pimp. Oh, Shaft the pimp. Pimp slip, the pimp slipper. Ah, the wet stick of liquor. Ah, the hot dog. Booty wiggler. I pop
Learning how to stabilize your hips and trunk in unison through the engagement of your intrinsic core stabilizers, like your transverse abdominis and internal obliques, is key to the reduction of pain and the ability to progress to more advanced exercise progressions.
Shake your arm, shake your arm. Dirty bass gon' shake your arm. Shake your arm, shake your arm. Dirty bass gon' shake your arm. Shake your arm, shake your arm. Dirty bass gon' shake your arm. Shake your arm, shake your arm. Dirty bass gon' shake your arm. Go, 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 go.
Shake it,
Go, 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 go.
shake it,
Go, 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 go.
shake it,
Go, 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 go.
shake it. Dirty bass girls dropping, 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 dirty.
Instead of focusing on using just your glutes and hamstrings like a regular bridge, reduce the range of motion. Stay focused on contracting your spinal flexors to concave the midsection and lift your hips off the ground. With time, this will become a natural movement that will allow you to contract both your glutes and your intrinsic core stabilizers like the transverse abdominis at the same time.